I see. तो आप behind the scenes मुझसे बात कर रहे थे कि US की जो stock market थी उसमें boom तब आया था जब 401k introduce हुआ था. आप थोड़ा elaborate करना चाहेंगे?
So again, in the US, back in the early 50s and 60s, there was not a big retail participation. And suddenly, when they introduced the 401k program, you see this uptake in retail participation. So in Pakistan, the equivalent what we have is the VPS, voluntary pension scheme. You can invest in a voluntary pension scheme, and then you can customize that allocation from fixed income to equities depending on your risk appetite. So essentially, all the working class of Pakistan, everybody who has a job, everybody who has a provident fund behind them, can essentially become stock market investors. So you have this pool of money that has not come into this market in a way that we wanted to.
Yes. लोग pension fund से बहुत डरते हैं. Why? And even the trustees, अगर हम बात करें, तो क्या उनकी financial literacy में कोई कमी है जो उनकी risk appetite नहीं है and that वो hesitate करते हैं equities की तरफ आने को?
Yeah, I think the problem is the equity market has been volatile recently, and when we look at these pension funds, technically pension funds are long-dated, long-term funds. They are there while you're throughout your life, your employment, they're there. But the horizon of investment that we see, and that's the general perception in Pakistan, everybody sees the short term. Everybody sees what's my next 3-month return is going to be like. Although these funds are long-term funds, and we know that the KC 100 over long-term period has done extremely well. I think it was one of the best asset classes in this country. But we don't align our long-term objectives of the pension fund or provident funds or any long-term investment with the horizon of that fund. So we are very short-term in our mind oriented. Because again, it's volatility that has not let us grow in that fashion. So we need a period of stability. We need to have that confidence in the markets that over a long period of time, it will deliver returns.
I see. जो हमारी अवाम होती है ना, they call a common word that is used हमारी market के लिए, हमारी market जैसे मैं बहुत प्यार करती हूँ, सट्टा. And everyone says it's just gambling. तो आप बताना चाहेंगे how it is not gambling?
You do a show on this, and I know you do a lot of financial awareness on fundamentals, on what the companies are doing in terms of earnings. So I think a lot has changed. Companies have to be studied. We have to understand what their earnings are like. We have to see what their business model is like, and all of these combined together make us form a view on that stock. So I think satta is a very outdated word, and fundamental analysis and technical analysis as well, to some extent, is what we use to determine what companies to buy, what companies to sell.
I think essentially जिन लोगों ने stock market में खुद gambling की भी होती है ना, और उस वजह से uneducated decisions लेते हुए, uninformed decisions लेने की वजह से उन्होंने जो अपने पैसे minimize किए और loss बहुत realize करना पड़ा उन्हें, I think they give a very bad reputation हमारे market को.
So it's not easy to make money. You have to work hard and you have to do your research. So if you depend on somebody to give you a call in the morning, okay, we buy this stock or buy this sector, so that's an easy way out, and then you can't blame for what happens if you lose money. So you have to do your research, I think.
तो essentially हमारी early 2000s में real estate की जो market थी उसने एकदम से एक boom देखा था और सब real estate agents बन रहे थे. क्या हम expect कर सकते हैं कि हमारी market में ऐसा कोई boom आ सकता है और कि लोग enter कर रहे होंगे, and what measures will the state need to take to make sure it's all regulated?
So I think long-term regulatory stability, I think that's important. We see frequent changes in tax laws. We see frequent changes in various other activities that happen around the exchange. So if there's a stability, we know there's a certain capital tax gain regime, there's a certain dividend regime, there's a certain stability in that regime. So people can take that view. Again, that's one angle. The second is institutional awareness. What we talked about, pension and provident funds, insurance companies, these are large pools of money that have not come into equities as the way they should have. You give them that regulatory comfort that they can come into this space. Institutional capital will come in. You have then all of these retail awareness, financial literacy programs that we require. This is the only way that we can actually bring this whole asset class, this whole investor class into this asset.
I see. So जिस तरह हमारे पास पाकिस्तान मर्केंटाइल एक्सचेंज है, राइट, पीमेक्स, तो आपको पता है कि मैं बहुत लोगों से मेरी बात होती है अबाउट ट्रेडिंग, राइट, तो बहुत सारे लोग जो फोरेक्स कर रहे होते हैं उन्होंने कभी पीमेक्स का नाम भी नहीं सुना, उनको पता ही नहीं कि वो फोरेक्स पेयर्स लीगली ट्रेड कर सकते हैं.
Okay, it's same. It's lack of financial awareness and lack of our marketing budgets.
जी.
Like we need to make more money.
जी. Do you think the marketing budgets are allocated more toward कि जी इस scam से दूर रहें, उस scam से दूर, rather than more defensive rather than aggressive?
So it's a mix of both. And while the current mutual funds, the PSX, SECP, the regulator, they all do a good job of promoting marketing. They are doing their level best, but a lot more needs to be done. So while PMEX is there, their retail participation is not as we see in our neighboring countries, let's say. So we have a lot of retail participation in our other region on commodities.
Yeah.
So we need to look into that as well.
So मैं बहुत बात करती हूँ अबाउट हमारा जो लोकल इंटरफेसेस हैं, राइट, एंड आप मतलब दुनिया में देखें तो इंटरनेशनली बड़ी बड़ी कंपनीज में पाकिस्तानीज स्पेशली आईटी डेवलपर्स जो होते हैं वो बहुत तादाद में बैठे हुए होते हैं. तो क्लियरली पाकिस्तानीज आर गुड एट डेवलपिंग, राइट, लेकिन फिर भी हमारे इंटरफेसेस बहुत लैक कर रहे हैं. अगर हम बात करें अबाउट सेंट्रलाइज्ड एक्सचेंजेस इन क्रिप्टो, राइट, they are so easy to use और actually pleasant होते हैं, मजा आता है देखते हुए, लेकिन आपके सर में दर्द हो जाए अगर आप यहाँ वाली देख लें तो.
Yeah, I think how crypto has penetrated this market is their apps have been so beautifully designed, they're so easy to use, and what the real tool behind them is gamification. So they make it like an intuitive game for you to participate in that market. You learn about new pairs and you start trading. So while our apps, the apps that we use, the funds app or the brokerage apps, feel a little outdated relative to those apps. So although we have the technical expertise to develop them, I think one needs to put a serious effort to bridging that gap of technological advance into apps so that it's easy for you to trade.
Yeah.
So you can open an account in, let's say, 10 minutes and then you start trading. It should feel like it's easy, and essentially we need to get there. So
I was speaking to you about this earlier that हर साल an estimated $16 billion आपकी crypto market में bleed कर जाता है illegally, right? तो if that came toward Pakistan, हमारा market cap इतना बढ़ जाएगा and our industry is going to grow so much. हमारे जो जिन price multiples पे हमारी companies अभी trade कर रही होंगी वो बढ़ जाएंगी.
Yeah, so equity market has done really well. And there are stocks here that have beaten crypto as well. So it's people need to figure out, people need to be told that there are stocks in Pakistan that are cheaper, better, and more lucrative.
Bilkul.
And easier to access without going to all of these overseas investments or sometimes potentially any.
And also such a risky and volatile market.
Yeah.